What's up, guys? Let's continue with our project. Last time we did the post operation for the user and the notepad, and we configured the Swagger. Now we are going to make the rest of endpoint calls, like the updating call for note and the user, deleting the note, deleting the user, and that's all. Get the notes, get all the notes, get the user, get all the users. And let's start with the node firstly. So we have the create node function, and for the update one, we just need to say API view. This is going to be a put view, and what we are going to need to be able to update a node is going to be the following. So def update node is just a regular function. I'm going to make sure that this time the screen is a bit bigger. We get the request, and you saw what the request does. We can get the data and so on. Data is going to be equal to request.data, but first we are going to add a try and catch except actually. So if we have an error, so except exception as e, we can just return a response that we got an error. Okay, now the problem is that if we want to update a node, we kinda need to know which node we want to update. And we can get the node ID through the URL. So we are going to require a pre-key, a primary key, so an ID. The PK is going to be representing the ID. Okay, and we need to filter the node which is having this ID. So we get the data. The data is going to be the new data that the node should be updated with. And then after we got the data, we need to get the node from the database to update it. So node is going to be equal to node that objects that get ID equal pk. So we filter the node from the database, and now we can just update its fields. As I said, the update is going to be made with serializer, but for this video we're just going to use regular updates. So we can just say node that name is going to be equal to data of name, node dot description equal to data of description, node dot update date is not going to be here, expire date not really. Let's say that we are going to update the expired date equal to data of expired date. And let's say that we don't want to delete the expired date, so it can be a bit tricky. I'm just going to update the name and the description. Okay, and now we can just hit node.save. So we got the data, we queried the node, we added the new fields, and we saved it. If we get a bad ID, so we cannot find the node with this ID, we can say except object does not exist, and we can import from Django that core that exceptions import object does not exist. So if we get the exception that the object does not exist, can just return a response which is going to say ID not found, status of 400, which means bad request. So they gave us bad data. That's all. Firstly, let's validate that if data of name is not none and length of data of name is greater than 1. Then we add the name, and we can do the same for the description. So we can just make a bit of validation right here. Okay, and okay, and that's how we can update the node. Now if we open the terminal, you can go to the command prompt as we did in the previous videos, but I'm going to do it from here. So env/scripts /activate to the backend and python manage.py run server. So you run the server, you can get this localhost, and we can go to Swagger. In the Swagger, we see the create node that we did last time with the data required, and we don't have the put because we need to make the URL for the update. So if we go to update node, we want to trigger the NotesApp view .update node, and this is going to be called update node. And now we should be able to see it right here. We can open it. Put means that it's going to update data. From what you can see, we don't have the request body here because we need to add it. So in order to add it, we are going to do the same as we did with the creation. So we can copy the Swagger schema, add it right here, but we are not going to need the user ID, neither the expire date. Let's continue. So what we can do now, we need to change the method into the post method. And let's try to update the node. If we go to our admin, let me just run the server again. Okay, now if you go to admin, just fill out your admin information. We can see that we have a node, the Swagger, with the ID of 9, and let's try to update it. So let's go back to our local host, but the URL is going to be Swagger, and let's update the node. And we need, from what you can see, we don't have the possibility to add the ID because, as I said, this view, this function is going to require a PK. This is going to be got through the parameters. So we are going to get a string PK. And now, from what you can see, the Swagger is requiring the ID of the node. In the future, when we are going to have the front end, we are going to call the function update node and ID of the node. You are going to see it soon. So the new name, Swagger update 2, just test Swagger update, and the ID, I think that it was 9. So let's execute it. We got a server error, but we can see what's the problem. I think that I forgot to return something. So yeah, we need to return a response with the data success and the status of 200 because everything worked fine. Let's try to execute it again, and we got 200. And if we go here again to the nodes, we can see that it got updated. Let's do another API view of get. This is going to help us get the node, get def, get node, request, and we need to get a node based off ID. So we need to add the primary key again, try. We can copy those exceptions and add it right here, add them right here. We just need to get the node and return it. But we can't just return the node like this. So we can just, this function, if you don't understand it, needs to return a specific node because we want to be able to get our nodes. So we want to be able to get a node based off ID. So we filter the node based off the primary key, but we can't just return it. But in the next video, we are going to learn how to serialize it. So the idea is that we can't just return it like this. we need to convert it into JSON so we can send it, because this is like we can send Python language. We need to convert it into a language that the front end is going to understand. But for now, convert the node and then send the node. That's our get function for now. And the function that is going to require get all the nodes. So get nodes. This is not going to require PK. This is just going to filter all the nodes. And the same, convert the nodes and then send it to the front end. And we can make the URLs for them. So just copy this one, paste it twice. So we are going to have get node, which is going to need that primary key. So Django knows that this primary key, which Swagger is requesting. So you can see that we need to fill the ID because we added here PK. So the update node is going to trigger the NotesApp use. The URL, update node, and ID is going to trigger the update node function, which requires a primary key. And Django knows that because we added the primary key, the URL, right here, it knows that we need to fill out the ID 2 and to fill out the data from the Swagger schema 2. So this one. So this is from the URL, this is from the URL, and this one is from the Swagger schema. If we want to get the node, again, we need to get the ID, set the ID of the node. So get node, this is going to be called get node. And for the update node, for the get nodes, we don't need the ID because we are just going to return all of them. So get nodes, and this is going to be get nodes. We want to do the same for the user. So get user, get users, and update user. Let's create the functions. So we just need to copy this 1, 2, 3 functions. Go to the user view, paste them like here. So now when we update a user, we get the user based off ID and we get the profile too. So I'll just remember that the user has a profile, so we can get the user and then get the profile based off the relationship 1-to-1. So we can get the profile too. Profile is going to be equal to profile.objects.get is going to be the user based off ID. And we can filter the profile where the user is going to be equal to this user. So we filter so we want to update the user, we need to get the primary key, so the ID of the user. We get the user, we get the profile of the user, because the profile has the field, 1-to-1 field with the user relation. To update the user, we can have email, and let's say username for the moment. Okay, that's for the moment. And the same if data of email, username, and here we are going to say user dot email is going to be equal to data of email. So we update the email, and we update the email for the profile too, because I want the user to have the same email as the user's profile. Makes sense. And now here we can update the username. User.username is going to be equal to data of username. And we hit user.save and profile.save. If from Django.contrib that exceptions, or just core.exception import object does not exist. If the object does not exist, just return ID not found. And that's for the update of the user. To get a note, to get the user, get user. We can do the same. So we can say user at object that get, convert the user, and then send it to the UI, currently to the Swagger. So send it to the front end. Currently is just the Swagger. If we want to get the users, get users, the same. Just filter all the users, convert them, and send them users and users. Okay, and now we are going to have the possibility to update users views.update user to get a user and to get all of users. Get users. User. Oh, wait, just a second. User. Okay. And now, if we refresh it, we can see we have two updates. Update user, get user. Let me just go right here. So update user is a put one, and it have get. Why do we have to update? Oh, we have update node, update user, and you can see the fact that the Swagger is telling us that we need this body for the update user view. So we added that in the URL. The update user requires an ID, and it's going to trigger this function, which requires these properties. The properties are here, and the ID is here. And to create the user, I told it in the last video, to get the users, we can't really do it right now because we need to serialize them, but we are going to do this in the next video. But hope you enjoy it. So in the next video, we just need to learn about serializer, change everything to use serializers, and after we have the possibility to make those operations, update, create, delete, get, byte, get all, we can start with our front end. Hope you like it, and bye bye.